Namaste to all of the audience. uh, मैं ऋषि और निनर आज के गेस्ट हम हमने सोचा कि आज ये प्रस्तुति की जाए. So we will be presenting to all of you this very innovative essay of Sister Nivedita. Uh, she took this name after her discipleship from Swami Vivekananda, as we all know. Before that, her name was Elizabeth Margaret Noble. She was an Irish Catholic, but she converted to Hinduism, and then she changed her name to Nivedita. We all know her history, and so today we will be discussing one of our best essays on Hinduism. And Nainer, would you want to say something?
So, namaste and welcome back to the channel to everyone. So, today we'll be discussing an essay which is almost more than 100 years old, but it is quite relevant to our debates and discussions even today. Sister Nivedita was originally from Ireland, but when she, like Rishi Rhythm has mentioned, she took on the name of Nivedita when she took discipleship of Swami Vivekananda. So the central question that I have seen from the starting parts of the essay that comes about here is that how do we express Indian modernity without making it an imitation of European culture? So she has used various different theories from the West as well and from our own knowledge sources, from Indian knowledge sources. For example, she draws from educational theory of Pestalozzi and so on. We will see going ahead what all she has written here.
Amazing. So then let's start uh, with the first chapter. Uh,
Yes, I'll start
well,
reading them. So the name
okay,
of the essay
great.
is Aggressive Hinduism. The first section is the basis. The, she quotes here Dr. J.C. Bose, the true Hinduism that made men work. The true Hinduism that made men work, not dream. One of the most valuable generalizations of the modern era is that which was first arrived at just about the time of the French Revolution, that the individual, in his development, follows the race. Each man and woman, that is to say, when perfectly educated, becomes an epitome of the history either of his or her own race or of humanity as a whole. This great perception made itself felt as a definite element in a new scheme of education through Pestalozzi, the saint and guru of teachers in the 20th century West. Pestalozzi saw that were there ever to be hope for the people, it must be through an education at once modern, that is liberal, psychological, that is founded on the knowledge of mental laws, and in accordance with the historic development of man. The problem with which the young student Pestalozzi, son and lover of the people, had to face at the end of the French Revolution in Switzerland was of trifling magnitude compared with that which confronts the son and lover of India today. And yet, in their innermost nature, the two are identical. For this, like that, consists in the difficulty of opening up the human field to a new thought harvest, while at the same time avoiding the evils of a mere surface culture. The soil that has brought forth the mango and the palm ought not be degraded, producing only gourds and wedges. And similarly, the land of the Vedas and of Jnana Yoga has no right to sink into the role of mere critic or imitator of European letters. Yet, this is the present condition of Indian culture, and it appears likely to remain so unless the Indian mind can deliberately discipline itself to the historic point of view. To do this is like adjusting oneself to a new dimension. Things which were hitherto merged in each other all at once become distinct. That which till now was instinctive is suddenly seen to have a goal, which is capable in its turn of clear definition. The social and the religious idea under Hinduism as under Islam were in the past indistinguishable. Philosophically, of course, every tyro could detach from one from another. Every tyre, I think. In practice, however, they were one and could not be separated. For religious reasons, as was supposed, we must eat in a certain way, wear specified clothing, and fulfill a definite scheme of purification. Suddenly, through the modern catastrophe, the sunlight of comparison, contrast, and relativity is poured over the whole area, and we discover that by living up to custom, we have been not accumulating pious men, but merely approximating to that ideal of absolute refinement, cleanliness, and purity, which is the dream of all fine human life, and which may as well or better be achieved by some other canon as by our own. Seeing the goal thus clearly, we become able to analyze and compare various methods to add to our own conduct the virtue of others, uh, and to eliminate from it the defects of all. Above all, above all, we find out how to distinguish effectively between the social idea and religion. It is thus that it becomes possible to talk of an aggressive Hinduism. Right. So, Rishi, would you like to elaborate on any of the points here that we've discussed so far? Hello, can you hear me? I'll continue reading for them. Aggression
Yes,
is to be
yes.
the dominant. Yeah. Do you have any points to say on this section which we read till now?
So I had some questions on the first para actually. Like
Okay, I'll go back to
the
them.
quotation, yeah, the individual in his development follows the race. Uh, is this the, can we say, is this the germ, what should I say, not germ, but the seed of individualism as a philosophy? Like the individual is the unit, the basic unit, and therefore it progresses to the race later on,
It
as we
must
see
be
in
that way.
Western society. Hmm.
Right, right. That is probably what they think. And that individual action becomes how the whole of society uh, ends up acting, right?
Yep, 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 yep. So it's not like the community develops the individual, but it's the other way around. I guess the postulation.
Yeah,
That's how I see it over here, at least. And similarly, later on, she talks about in the second chapter. You'll see, sorry, not second chapter, second page. Uh, the quotation is, and similarly, the land of the Vedas and of Jnana Yoga has no right to sink into the role of mere critic or imitator of European letters. This is a crucial point, I think. Yeah, in this page.
this one, right?
Yeah, yeah, there. Yep, 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 there. So,
So yeah,
just like you said before reading the essay, she's trying to actually urge that we should not be taking the position which actually at that time the liberals were doing, right, in Indian politics. Like, we need to become just like the West. We need to imitate them.
Yes.
Then alone we shall progress in this modern world, or else
And
we'll
what we
perish.
saw was that among the elite, what happened in the educational sphere was first they gave up learning basically our texts and stuff. And when they went to
Hmm.
study European education, they were basically like how she mentioned, they're studying European letters, the bell letters, right? They used to call them all their
Yeah,
literature and stuff.
yeah.
And they used to
Hmm.
basically critique them or copy them, translate them, all the very menial tasks.
Hmm. Hmm. Yep, yep, yep. And somehow she's getting the point that in the like in the land of Hinduism, we should not be the one to copying them, but instead we should be analyzing them and rather making our own path in this whole scheme of, what should I say,
Yeah. So one way
the
to look
turmoil
about
that's
it is
going
that maybe like we had our own role and our own way of looking at the world, but we gave it up. So we are giving up our role as well when we are doing that.
So, what do you think at last when she talks about the aggressive Hinduism? Uh, right, you ended it there. Uh, I wasn't present at that time,
We
so
can continue that because I think that section has a lot.
fine, fine, fine. Absolutely, we can
Yeah.
continue with that.
Because actually she's only begun talking about that what that aggression means. Mhm.
Hmm. True, true.
Yeah. So I'll read again. Aggression is to
Mm.
be the dominant characteristic of the India that is today in school and classroom. Aggression and the thought and ideals of aggression. Instead of passivity, activity. Mm. For the standard of weakness, the standard of strength, in place of steadily yielding defense, the ringing cheer of the invading host. Merely to change the attitude of the mind in this way is already to accomplish a revolution. And the inception of some such change will have become evident to us all within a dozen years. Hmm. But before the first step can be taken, there must be clear thought about essentials. The object of all religious systems is the formation of character. Theocratic systems aim at the construction of character through the discipline of personal habit, but at bottom it is character and not habit that they desire to create. No one will dispute that her ideals are a still prouder fruit of Hinduism than her widespread refinement. It is true that India is the only country in the world where a penniless wanderer may surpass a king in social prestige. But still grander is the fact that the king may be a Janaka and the beggar a Sukadeva. Let us then touch on the comparative study of the value of habit as a factor. Oh, one second. Then hold up or something. Yeah, let us then
Mm.
touch on the comparative study of the value of habit as a factor in the evolution of character. We find in India that society watches a man all the years of his life, ready to criticize him for the hour at which he bathes and eats and prays, the mode of his travel, the fashion in which perhaps he wears his hair, to attempt a serious innovation on social custom in such directions as marriage or education seems to be horrified public opinion, not merely selfish, but also sacrilegious. And this kind of criticism becomes more and more powerful over the individual as the villages empty themselves into cities. For the man who might have the courage to make his mark in the smaller community would think it presumptuous to go his own way in the larger. Hence, the aggregation of men tends to become the multiplication of their weaknesses and defects. It is the mean and warped judgment that gains fastest in weight. I think this is quite an interesting point. We can probably discuss this. So she's
Yeah.
criticizing that the idea that urban development and
Hmm.
larger cities, they have quite a profound effect on the individual and how confident they are.
True. So, if I'm not wrong, maybe you can correct me on this, but she's saying that when villages turn into cities, that very individual who might have felt powerful within the smaller community, as in the village, is now totally powerless because of the size and the volume that there is in a city, right?
Yes, and every defect has there's many more modes of comparison, many more people, and the mean has changed and such. And whatever power
Completely.
was in the
Yeah,
village, that is quite insignificant compared to the city.
so true. So this
Hmm.
then results in, as per her, mean and warped judgment that gains fastest in weight.
Yes.
Uh, how should we interpret this line? Like, कैसे ले हम ये?
So I read a line before on this. So you
Mhm,
read about this, right, where she says that society watches a man all his years of life. So I think
mhm, mhm,
these criticisms in the non-urbanized phase would be relatively fair. She says that these same
mhm,
criticisms are the ones which become
mhm.
more mean and with warped judgment in larger aggregations like urban developments.
Ah, amazing. Aha.
And
So with
it's
the
also true
larger,
because like huge kinds of generalizations have to be made over urban developments, right?
true, true, true. So because of the volume of people being increased and also the size of the space, that individual, that very individual who might have had far grounded observation of certain problems within the system, now has to make complete generalizations. Like he has to make statements completely eroding nuances, right, for making his
Exactly.
policies. Hmm, amazing. Ha bhai, let's continue.
Let's continue. Yeah. But let us look at a community in which active ends and ideals are energetically pursued. Here, a certain standard of personal refinement is exacted of the individual as rigidly as in India itself. Public opinion, being strong enough to kill, does not stoop to discuss such points. The learning of the method is relegated to the nursery, where it is imparted by women. Having passed through this stage of his education, it is not expected that the hero will fall short in future of standards. But if he did so, society would know how to punish him by ignoring his existence. Both he and society, meanwhile, are too busy with other efforts to be able to waste force on what is better left to his own pride. A whole new range of ideals has now come inside. From the time that a Western child steps out of the nursery, it is not quietness, docility, resignation, and obedience that his teachers and guardians strive to foster in him, so much as strength, initiative, sense of responsibility, and power of rebellion. Temper and self will are regarded by Western educators as a very precious power, which must be by no means be crushed or destroyed. Though they must
Hmm.
undoubtedly be disciplined and subordinated to impersonal ends. It is for this reason that fighting is encouraged in our playgrounds, only stipulation being for fair play. To forbid a boy to undergo the physical ordeal means, as we think, undermining his. I'll read once again. To forbid a boy to
Yeah, yeah.
undergo the physical ordeal means, as we think, undermining his sincerity as well as his courage. But for him to strike one who is weaker than himself is to stand disgraced amongst his equals.
Hmm.
That is to say, the social evolution which in Asia has occupied many centuries is in the West relegated to, at most, first 10 years of a child's upbringing, and he then passes into the period of chivalry. Indeed, if As some suppose, the 10 avatars of Vishnu are but the symbol of a single perfect life. India herself has not failed to point this lesson. For after the stages of fish, tortoise, boar, and man lion, are all safely and happily passed, and the child becomes a little man, it still remains for him to be twice a Kshatriya before he is able to become a Buddha. What is this but the modern generalization that the individual in his development follows the race? And in the last sublime myth of Kalki, may it not be that we have the prophecy of a great further evolution in which Buddhahood itself shall plunge once more into a sovereign act of redeeming love and pity, and initiate for every individual of us the triumph, active and aggressive ideals. So this was quite in depth. What are your thoughts on this? We can discuss both this section and this as well.
Yeah, so the last paragraph that you read, I think that's too much tough for me. I will need your help on that.
Yeah, let's
But
first
on the
discuss this
previous,
one. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. On the first one, so she's talking about evolution in character of the child, right? From the stage of nursery, as she says that
right.
at that time the child is being educated by the woman of the house, so like the mothers, grandmother, and so on. After that, mm, uh, she's saying that in that stage of evolution, if that child falls short, then the society will ignore him, ignore his existence. I wanted to know about that from you. So what do you think of that? Yeah, that line. uh,
So I have one
Society would
confusion
know.
over here. She's talking about the West, right? In this section.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She talks about it. Yeah,
Yeah. I think what she meant here, because she even said mentioned this by saying the hero will fall short in the future. She said that
yeah.
the the mistakes of man in his later years of his life, they are
Mm-hmm.
already have a context in his education and his upbringing, right? And
Oh,
when
okay.
society comes to
Uh,
punish him, they ignore that the existence of that context.
ah, acha. So that's
I
the
think it
point.
comes that way.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
That's why
Interesting.
it said, having passed this education, then he is expected to be a hero of that sort.
Hmm.
Her
Hmm.
words are
Hmm.
also like
True.
that, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Uh, and after that, the Western one. Now that's the interesting part, right? So from the time a Western child steps out of the nursery, uh, the obedience and all of those things are initiated into him, but also there is this purpose of strength, initiative, and sense of responsibility and power of rebellion as well, she adds, that are added as well, right? But that's not done by the
The one
teachers,
which
right?
I
It's
find,
an implicit thing.
yeah, the one which I find interesting though is self-will. What do you think about that?
Mhm. Yeah, so self will, that's what should I say, that's what we call as the ambition, right? The self will thing, the whole curiosity, nature, the power of rebellion, especially those are
Yeah,
effects of the self will, right? Like what should I say, the individual spirit, I guess that would be the modern nomenclature,
yeah, and
because
how it
that's
must
what
be
I've heard.
regulated towards the right ideals and so on.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much universal, even in other cases, right? Even in other civilizations, that would be agreed.
True, true.
Because when she's writing, I guess the Western mind was till then very principled. Because right now, even we see that that whole self will thing has gone way ahead. and like there are no bars kept at all. That's like
Right. I think
fascistic.
the whole disciplining part basically went out the window. You can say that.
Totally, totally, totally. Like
It's almost a
the
free
kind of
for all.
true, true, true. Absolutely, absolutely. Any sort of reprimanding is now seen as very dictatorial and too bad. Should not be done at all. Let alone
And all kinds
uh,
of rebellion is encouraged.
exactly. That's the ideal, right? I guess. So the temper part has gone away. I guess what she was mentioning, that temper and self will. So that self will and temper, I guess these are the two opposing forces in a child. At least to me, it feels
Yeah.
as such, because temper is something that you
Temper is
control,
about
right? Like you.
control and self-will is about projecting, right?
True, 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 true. Absolutely, absolutely. So even here, the she says that uh, mm, like the child is encouraged to go into fights as well, right? The physical ordeal that he has to face at the end, that is also encouraged, but with the whole fair play thing. Like it would be a competition. I guess that's the origin of competition. I guess the whole competition that those are organized in schools, right? So I guess that's the principle behind what she was saying.
It must be like a
What do you think?
competitive self-will kind of thing, right? Where you compete.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, basically
Uh,
that. I don't have much
yeah,
else to
yeah,
say.
compete with their partner. Yeah, but after that, what she says, to forbid a boy to undergo the physical ordeal means, as we think, undermining his sincerity as well as his courage. What was sincerity? I mean, I don't know why sincerity was the word she selected over here. Courage, I guess, there is some element of that, because
Right, right.
in
Let me
competition,
tell you.
you have to overcome.
So
But the sincerity part,
it must be about how they do not expect the boy to hold back, perhaps,
okay.
and to be sincere to his self-will in trying to achieve what it dictates him.
Oh, okay, okay,
It
okay.
could be
Now,
in that way.
that's a good point. Ha ha ha. Yeah, yeah, that would be the case. Oh, okay, okay. Nice, nice, nice. Ah, but for
And I
him to
think this
strike one
paragraph
who
is a
is
bit,
weaker than him. Yeah,
yeah,
this is really something. She
this
has
is
brought in
beyond,
the
I couldn't
whole.
understand it.
Yeah, yeah, same, same. Like she has brought in the whole sociological evolution thing, which is discussed in the West, into our stories of, or what should I say, Leelas of Avatar,
Yeah,
into
I
that
think,
itself.
yeah, I don't think we need to like extrapolate evolution into avatars of Vishnu necessarily, but if she
Yeah,
intends to see something, that is fine, I guess.
yeah, I guess she's doing the right. She says, right, that for some, if 10 avatars of Vishnus are symbol, then she starts the
Right, right.
transposition. So she's assuming that beforehand, that okay, so some of you just say that these are symbols, these are not real deities. So okay, then maybe sociological evolution is being uh, expressed through these stories, and she's doing that as well over here. But the last
Yeah,
line, what do you think of that? The whole redeeming
this
love.
one.
Uh,
In
yeah,
and
yeah,
in
yeah.
the last sublime myth of Kalki, may it not be that we have the prophecy of a great further evolution, in which Buddhahood itself shall plunge once more into a sovereign act of redeeming love and pity, and initiate for every individual of us the triumph of active and aggressive ideals. Is that what she means by? Uh, I think this is like what she takes away from Kalki Avatar, and
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
redeeming love and
That was
pity is
also my
what she
point.
takes away from Buddha Avatar.
True. I think she is saying, right, that the Buddhahood has to relinquish after a point of time. Like, okay, the whole redeeming love and pity and uh, the whole like say, accommodating nature that has to be
Yeah.
now kept back, and the whole aggression or activity, what she was saying right beforehand, that strength, activity, not passivity, and aggressiveness, not what
And
should I
now it
say,
should show in the
sloth.
nature of education itself.
True. Yeah,
Okay,
nice.
we can continue
In a
then.
way, it's
Let's
a
see what else she says.
exactly. Let's move ahead.
Let us
I'm
suppose
liking
then
this.
that we see, yeah, true. Let us suppose then that we see Hinduism no longer as a preserver of Hindu custom, but as a creator of Hindu character. It is surprising how radical a change is entailed in many directions by this conception. We are no longer oppressed with jealousy or fear when we contemplate encroachments on our social and religious consciousness. Indeed, the idea of encroachment has ceased because our work is not now to protect ourselves, but to convert others.
Hmm.
Point by point, we are determined not merely to keep what we had, but to win what we never had before. Question is no longer of other people's attitude to us, but rather of what we think of them. It is not how much have we kept, but how much have we annexed. We cannot afford now to lose because we are sworn to carry the battle far beyond our remotest frontiers. We no longer dream of submission because the struggle itself has become only the first step towards a distant victory to be won. No other religion is so capable of this dynamic transformation as Hinduism. To Nagarjuna and Buddha Ghosha, the many was real and the ego unreal. To Shankaracharya, the one was real and the many unreal. To Ramakrishna and Vivekananda, the many and the one were the same reality, perceived differently and at different times by the human consciousness. Do we realize what this means? It means that character is spirituality. It means that laziness and defeat are not renunciation. It means that protect another is infinitely greater than to attain salvation. It means that mukti lies in overcoming the thirst for mukti. It means that conquest may be the highest form of sannyas. It means, in short, that Hinduism is to become aggressive, that the trumpet of Kalki is sounded already in our midst, and that it calls all that is noble, all that is lovely, and all that is strenuous and heroic amongst us to a battlefield on which the bugles of retreat shall never more be heard. I think
Brilliant.
reading this, it gives a lot more context to what was written earlier. Now it makes
True.
more sense.
More. Yeah. So basically, she's just framing the whole Hinduism thing right now, just not as like inheritor of a civilization, but now a creator of that civilization itself. So we are supposed to do that right now. Like we should be spreading ourselves, not be just inheriting
And
and
not only
practicing it
that,
ourselves alone.
did you notice this
Mhm.
part where she calls it out as not as a preserver of just Hindu custom,
Yeah,
but as a creator, not a preserver, but a creator of
yeah,
Hindu character. So that
exactly.
I think that line is quite fundamental here. That
True. She says also,
even
right? Like,
if the custom goes or comes, like we have a character to
mm,
preserve and to create.
mm, exactly. Many customs may be forgotten by, uh, like, due to what should I say, non-punctuality of some generations. The later generations totally forget the uh, practices or customs itself. But that creator of Hindu character, that has to be kept, and that's the key. And that again then bring back all of those rituals back in, right? Like those which were forgotten now again comes back due to that, and now it can be spread
Okay.
as well
And the
to
thing
other
why I
nations.
found this character thing very important is because let's live and look to say like our Puranas or you say to our Bhakti saints. We don't remember
Hmm.
them for what karma kanda they did, even though it was obviously
True.
punya and all. But we remember them for their
Hmm.
piousness and character, so with what they approached religion with, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Totally. That's the main point. The character that they were, that actually inspires us more than their nitya karma rituals they used to do regularly. That frankly makes no difference to us at the end.
And
Those are anything
you
we
can
make.
say that the nitya karma itself is basically it is a stepping stone to forming a better character in the end.
True, true, absolutely. That's true. The Nitya Karma is the building block, and because of that whole character that they had, we also get encouraged to imbibe that Nitya Karma ritual as well in our daily lives after that.
Right.
Like
So yeah,
that,
do you have any other point, or should I move on?
I mean, it's a brilliant para. I guess these two paras, like she's completely uh, juxtaposing the whole. What should I say? Like how our liberal or those who were reformers, what they were trying to do, they were trying to uh, somehow, what should I say, you can correct me on this,
The
bhai.
apologetic, you
Uh,
mean?
so in the name of reform they were saying, right, that okay, we want to go to the ancient ways, like how our rishis used to be, like they say that, right, like this is the original Hinduism. That's the point they always used to make. So somehow I feel like they were being very rigid or backward in some ways, even though they were reformers, but they were trying to take us back into being preservers of certain customs, which FYI they alone selected as okay.
That's true.
These are alone the valid customs. But over here,
It can
Nivedita
be
is
like
saying
seen as a
no.
the sign of a small mind as well, that you couldn't think of
Yeah,
the existing things being uh, different in a sense.
true. And like she's saying that okay, we have right now all of these things. Now we need to move ahead. We need to now be, as she says, right? Character is spirituality. Uh, to protect another is infinitely greater than attaining salvation. Again, another attack on the reformers. So they were always trying to say, right, that, okay, we go to the early portions and we will get mukti and so on and so forth. So no, that's not the point. Now we should be moving ahead. We should be instead including others into our system now. Instead of trying to like butcher our own systems and mm, creating a mangled ancient version of it and practicing it and becoming conservative in certain ways. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm getting confused about this, but uh, what should I say? It's an
I know,
amazing
but
para. Yeah.
it's the same thing which she said earlier, that we shouldn't be like defining ourselves on their terms. We should be defining ourselves on our terms, and we should be defining them on our terms. She, I think, where
Oh, yeah.
she said something like that in the
Yeah.
beginning. Well,
Yeah. She did say that. Yeah. 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 What is it?
oh, where is it? Anyways, let's move on. There's a lot to
Yeah. Yeah.
read.
Let's move on. Let's move on. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
So the
this is
second
a
chapter
section
now.
two. Do you wish to read, or should I continue?
Okay. Well, let me read. Now you can take some rest.
Yeah.
Now, number two, the task before us. Quote, forgiveness, if weak and passive, is not good. Fight is better. Forgive when you can bring legions of angels to an easy victory. Vivekananda. It is small wonder if in act of transition from old forms to new, from a mode of thought some centuries venerable to one untried and at best but modern. It is small wonder if, in the throes of so great a crisis, India should have passed through a generation or two of intellectual confusion. The astonishing phenomenon is rather the speed and ease of her readjustment. Within 50 years, to have assimilated a new language, and that of an unforeseen type, and to have made changes at almost every rung in the ladder of ideal culture. Is this a little thing? Is it a fact that could be duplicated anywhere? To speak in reply of Japan is mere foolishness. The problem of Japan, when midway through the 19th century, could hardly be compared with that of India. A small and compact people of single origin, inhabiting islands and strong in their sense of insularity, could naturally mobilize themselves in any direction they pleased. The number of people in India today who speak English fluently would people two or three Japans more than once. And in spite of all efforts to prevent it, the knowledge of English will go on spreading. The trouble hitherto has been that the people were as passive to modern culture as to ancient. In a land where the segregation of the soul has been the aim of the highest thought and life for thousands of years, it has not been easy to turn every energy suddenly in the direction of activity and mutual cooperation. At bottom, however, there is strength enough in India, and in spite of the demoralization of hunger and baffled hope, her people are about to set foot on the threshold of a new era. The ebb of the tide has already reached its utmost. The reaction of fortune is about to commence. That this is so is due to the fact that at the beginning of the 20th century, the Indian people can take a bird's eye view of their past history and are able to understand clearly their true position. So, in the first para, uh,
Yes.
she's congratulating India, right? Indians especially for uh, trying to change themselves, seeing the modern age, and that too so fast, and by adjusting themselves to the foreign institutions and foreign language at such a rate is, she's saying, impeccable, and it cannot be even thought of to be repeated in other cultures. So she also takes the Purva Paksha, right? So she brings in Japan for this. In that, she points out that how Japan, being such an insular country with one set of people, one set of language, and so on, and their history being so much shared, it's very easy for them to move to the direction that they went of modernization. But in case of India, it's just mind-boggling to do so. That would be the summary, right, of the
Yeah.
first para.
Though usually, like, we criticize ourselves for having taken up English language and the all
Hmm.
their knowledge systems so fast, but I think there's also quite a different perspective to appreciate.
True. Yeah, she's appreciating it as in the, what should I say, the ability to learn, like it's so fast for Indians, and it keeps increasing, and that's true. Right now,
So
Indians
what
are,
she
I guess,
mentioned was
the
that this is about the passive nature of Indians, that Indians can be passive in learning new things and new systems,
ah,
basically.
there's a second para. Yeah, Well, but there's an interesting point, right? The trouble that she is posing to us, that people were as passive to modern culture as to their ancient. Now, that's very interesting. I mean, certain section of academicians would say that the Indians were passive and totally like conserving into ancient ways and so on. But she's saying the opposite. She's saying no, they were not even in the ancient, neither in the present, in the modern. They were somewhere in between, like in a limbo. Uh,
And that's kind
I
of
don't
where
know
we
where
needed
she's.
to be as well.
Hmm. Okay. Ah. So you think that that was natural, like that limbo position that we were in,
I think
like
she's
we were not
appreciating
totally.
us in this way.
Oh. Okay.
Okay, but oh right, she just mentioned it's the trouble, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, right.
The trouble.
Hmm.
She's she's explaining the problem that was there, but uh, at the end, as you said, she's also appreciating how we actually rose above that. We became active, as she says, like okay, that we were into, as she says, that in a land where segregation of soul has been the aim of the highest thought, it was very hard for them to turn their energy totally into direction of activity, right? So direction of activity would be, I guess she's alluding to us getting into more materialistic way of life, right? Like economics and
Yeah,
production,
probably.
capitalism. These things are not very otherworldly as
And she
Max Weber and
mentions
others would say.
just earlier that in the ancient way of life, we were emphasizing where the segregation of the soul has been the aim of the highest thought.
Hmm,
And
hmm,
now
hmm,
we
hmm.
are moving towards more superficial kinds of, you can say, worldviews.
True. Yeah, due to modernization and so on. So she's baffled that how fast we.
So we should not have been equally passive to both, I guess.
True. 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 She also mentions this whole demoralization thing, right? So she's actually acknowledging that there was a huge case of demoralization due to hunger and torture, which had happened for so many years, right? The persecution
Yeah,
and so
poverty,
on and so
hunger,
forth.
everything.
Hmm. Yeah, so
Okay,
I guess
we
we
can
should
read
move
further
ahead.
then. Yeah.
Mhm. There is a saying in India that to see through Maya is to destroy her. But few realize how literally this is true. The disaster or difficulty that has ceased to confuse and bewilder us is about to be defeated. The evil about which we can think and express ourselves clearly has already lost its power to measure. Uh-oh.
Wait, stop sharing. 1 second.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
I'll share the screen once more.
So, are there any questions from audience? Let's check them out. Oh, okay.
Can you see it?
Not yet. Uh, oh, okay. So,
One
Retro
second.
asked a question. Namaste, Retro. So, was Sister Nivedita red or Raita? uh, so, some pointers, Retro. So, she was appreciative of Ram Mohan Roy, but in the spirit that Ram Mohan Roy was active in, uh, what should I say, in adopting modern ways to spread Hinduism. So that's what she appreciates of Ram Mohan Roy. In that, she criticizes the conservative, the hardcore conservative, which were there in his times, who did not yet evolve themselves into taking those methods of spreading Hinduism. Uh, she criticizes that. But let me remind you all, she was not uh, also a reformer type like Ram Mohan Roy. She was very much proud of what the conservatives were saying too, as well, as in what the texts say, what the validity of the texts are, and uh, that there needs no change. So, like how the reformers were suggesting, that was all bunkum. That was not needed. What was there was totally correct, and what it needed was an evolved kind of messaging, an evolved kind of society which could actually spread its wisdom out there in the world, not just being a preserver of those original doctrines, but also creating a character, the Hindu, the aggressive Hindu, who would actually go out and also educate others, and also reform others, in fact, into bringing into our fold. So retro, I don't know, how would you comment on that? Like, how would you say, uh, I don't know if she was a trad or raita after that. So I guess she was also in a limbo, or she was some hybrid, I guess you would say.
These terms are also kind of more tropes than actual pragmatic positions to take, right?
Brilliant point. Absolutely. These are tropes. These are very superficial tropes, in fact, of
Each side just
uh,
uses it as a just as a trope for the other side, and so on.
yeah, it's a jibe, it's a diatribe, and all of those things. So yeah, so I
Yeah,
mean,
you can continue
for the
reading.
audience, yeah, yeah, yeah. Just a small information for the audience. So, Sister Nivedita had associations with both Brahmos like Dr. J.C. Bose and Rabindranath Tagore, and also with non-Brahmos at that time like Rishi Aurobindo, Tilak, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's go on. I shall be repeating again. There is a saying in India that to see through Maya is to destroy her, but few realize how literally this is true. The disaster or difficulty that has ceased to confuse and bewilder us is about to be defeated. The evil about which we can think and express ourselves clearly has already lost its power. To measure our defeat accurately is to reverse it. When a people, as a people, from the highest to the lowest, are united in straight and steady understanding of their circumstances, without doubt and without illusion, then events are about to precipitate themselves. Discrimination is the mark of the highest spirituality. Mind you, this the word she's using, discrimination, that means Vivek. I repeat, that
Correct,
means
correct.
Vivek. Yeah. For certain set of audience, it would be like, hey, what the hell is she? Sorry for digressing. Discrimination
No, it's
is the
an important
mark of the highest.
clarification.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's an important clarification because that's also kind of an old terminology. Not everyone uses it now.
True, true, true. Absolutely. Absolutely. Spirituality is the only irresistible force. Like the fire that wraps a forest in flame, is the power of the mind of a whole nation. From the year 1858 onwards, there has been no possible goal for the Indian people but a complete assimilation of the modern consciousness. At that point, the medieval order was at an end. Prithviraj and Shah Jahan, Ashoka and Akbar were mingled in a common oblivion. Only the soil they had loved, only the people they had led remained, to address themselves to a new task, to stand or fall by their power, to cope with a new condition. Sharp as the contrast between the Ganga and the Jamuna was the difference between the medieval and the modern. Invincible as the resistless current of the Bhagirathi is that new India that is to be born of both. So the first para, that's a
We
bit
can read more of it.
philosophical. So
We can read more of
okay,
it
okay,
and
okay,
then
okay, okay. Let's proceed now. Up to the present, however, in the exhaustion of the transition, it has not been possible for the national mind to envisage the problem so as to see or state its terms clearly. Today, this first stage is over. The Indian mind is no longer in blind collapse. It is awaking to fresh strength and about to survey both past and present, that by their means it may determine and forecast its future. What are the differentiae? What is the precise problem of this modern age? Definitions are proverbially rash, but it is not difficult to state some facts and considerations bearing on this subject with great precision. The outstanding fact about the modern period has been undoubtedly the geographical discovery of the world as a whole. The one characteristic of the modern mind that makes it unlike the mind of any other age is the completeness with which it is able to survey and define the surface of the planet Earth. The discovery of steam, with the consequent invention of railways and steamboats, has undoubtedly been the efficient cause of this exploration, and out of the consequent clash of faiths and cultures has come the power to make the personal or mythological equation, to cancel, more or less to one's satisfaction, all the elements of local prejudice in a given problem. And from this again has been born the ideal of modern science, of modern culture generally, the attempt to extract the root fact from all the diversity of phenomena in which it clothes itself. So, from the paragraph that we started, uh, the Maya thing, uh, that's a bit philosophical for me, so I don't know how to comment on it. Anything, Nainer, you found interesting over there?
so she just she talks about unity as well in a different way. So she has written about
Mm-hmm.
how when a people as a people from the highest to the lowest are united in straight and steady understanding of the circumstances without doubt and
True.
without illusion, then events are about to
Mm.
precipitate themselves. That's why she
Yep.
brings about discrimination as well. That is Vivek, that to distinguish
Mm.
between what is right, what is wrong, and what is
Yeah.
important, what is unimportant.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That knowledge itself will precipitate the events that bring, you can call it, I guess, a more righteous time or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
a more prosperous, a better future in general.
True. Yeah. So that discrimination is the mark of high spirituality. So that discrimination, that viveka that she's mentioning, that's the proverb that she mentioned first, I guess. That to see through Maya
Yeah.
is to destroy her. So to see through Maya is to distinguish between what is bad, what is right. And therefore you destroy the whole phenomenon itself as a whole, which you are getting bewildered by. As she says at last itself, that like the fire that wraps a forest in flame is the power of the mind as a whole nation. Now in the next para, she is commenting on how there has been a specific goal for Indian people, especially after the 1857 mutiny. Sorry, not mutiny, rebellion.
There
What should
has
I
been
say?
no goal for the Indian people. It says
No
no,
possible
no goal.
goal, right? Yeah, no goal except just being assimilative for the modern consciousness. Basically,
Yeah,
imbibing all of the modern institutions and modern structures, which got entrenched right after 1857. So
yeah,
the
and the
foreign rule
usual
got
attitude
entrenched,
was that
and
we had become backward and we had to catch up with the West and so on.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, that was the whole state of mind at that time. So many of those reformers and all came at that time. In fact, it's not at the time of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. All were coming at
Yeah,
that time. So even in this, she's saying that the medieval time has like really dissolved into just the nation, the national identity itself. The whole memory that was there of those great kings and their monuments, now they are just part of the national identity itself, the history of the nation. And at that, to address themselves to a new task, to stand or fall by their power to cope with a new condition. As you said, that given the time, we need to catch up with the West, and that was the only concern at that time. Uh, she's also mentioning about contrast between Ganga and Jamuna, difference between medieval and modern. I guess
yeah, yeah.
the
That is
Sang-
just
the
metaphors and so on.
Sangam. Hmm. And then the next para, up to the present, however, in the exhaustion of the transition, it has not been possible for the national mind to envisage the problem. So over here, did you find something interesting, or is it just the same repetition in the earlier, but with more concern in this?
So
Like I'm
so
seeing a
she had
repetition of.
hmm. So she earlier mentioned how there was no goal. Now she's saying that in the recent times and around her time to the present, she mentions, right? So the Indian mind is no
Hmm,
longer in blind collapse. It is there is a vision of things. For example, you can say that is around the time when the independence movement was also picking pace, right? Those,
totally.
and probably she's mentioning that.
Hmm, probably. And then we see the last para that we read. Now that's the big one.
That one I
Over
don't
here,
really have
she's
much to say.
yeah, it's very cumbersome actually. So I guess she's
We
just
can go on.
narrating the whole modern evolution, right? So from the times of
Yeah, I think she's
medieval
not
to
completed with
how we
that as
came
well.
at the modern
We
age.
can continue that, reading that.
Okay. In this way, the intellectual and spiritual discovery of the world has followed hard on the physical or geographical. In culture, a new era has been proclaimed. It is no longer enough to know one thing well. It is also incumbent upon us to understand its place amongst other things and its relation to the scheme of knowledge as a whole. The pioneers of modernism, meanwhile, have been dominated by the ideal of the machine to which they have owed so much of the success. To this fact, we may trace our present day standards of order and efficacy. A large house of business with its staff is simply a human machine of an intricate kind. It has been said that the Oriental regards his servants as personal attendants, the Western as so many hidden machines. Nothing could be more true. The Oriental is in every case an agriculturist, accustomed to the picturesque disorder of the seed time and harvest, cowshed and barn, and far from irritated by it. Every thought and habit of the Western, on the other hand, is dominated by the motion of mechanical accuracy and efficacy and by the effort of the mechanician to achieve a given end by the most economical possible means. In a society in which the highest knowledge fulfills the twofold test of order and synthesis, the great sin is provincialism. And here the new world differs from the old, in which the tastes of aristocrats were supreme and mortal crime lay in vulgarity. But while the great intellectual and social failure of today lies in provincialism, no serious mind assumes that the world idea is to be arrived at easily. Only the tree that is firm rooted in its own soil can offer us a perfect crown of leaf and blossom, and similarly, only the heart that responds perfectly to the claims of its immediate environment, only the character that fulfills to the utmost its stint of civic duty, only this heart and mind is capable of taking its place in the ranks of the truly cosmopolitan. Only the fully national can possibly contribute to the cosmo-national. Now, this para I think is very important, right? So, for many, it was like nationalism was conservatism and it was a hindrance to cosmopolitanism. But she's saying that just as a tree which is grounded and has its roots deep down in the ground can alone give us shed and blossom, same is the case with a human being who's completely national and steeped in his ancient ways as well, can also be the future man, the man who becomes cosmopolitan, who becomes modern as well. This is a great refutation, I guess, right? For the international against the internationalists. What do you say?
It's even constructive to the internationalists. So you do not reject
Mhm.
nationalism to become an internationalist, but rather embrace nationalism to become internationalist in a way, because the last line means that only. That's what I guess.
Mhm. Only the fully national can possibly contribute to the cosmonational. Yep, absolutely. In the previous paragraph,
So
although,
yeah,
what do you think? Uh, the pioneers of modernism,
what?
that para. Yeah,
Yeah,
this.
this one. This one was a little. I don't know what to think. I did
Yeah,
not really
because
understand what she was trying to get at. This is like a very broad generalization.
true. So, some of the points, like you can correct me on this. So, what I got from reading this, so first was she's saying that pioneers of modernism craft the whole world as a sort of house of machines, right? So, it's a mechanical world for them. That's the ideal of the machine. That's the ideal of the modern man. Okay, got it. The first point,
That makes
and
sense, yeah.
then
But
she
after
says,
that, it becomes a little complex.
yeah, that's where the wonky past, no, wonky part starts. Yeah. So then she talks about order and efficacy. Okay, fine. That's with the machine part. But then she brings in the Oriental thing. Uh, so she says the Oriental behavior is like the agriculturalist, whereas the behavior of the Western mind is that of the modern man who sees only machines. Even in human processes, it looks at a very mechanical process. Whereas in the case of Oriental, even the machine is very much what should I say, a personalized thing or something. I don't know what she meant at that, but somehow she's saying about agriculturalist. Like, what's with that? I didn't get that at
I
all.
could understand the point on the Western thing, but I did not really get what she was trying to go with the agriculturalist point.
Yeah,
And why
like
would disorder of seed time and harvest?
Yeah,
irritate
so
anyone. Because even in West they do farming. It's not like they don't do.
exactly. And farming also is a bit of is a bit mechanical, right? I mean, farmers have a
Yeah,
time period in their heads.
even without the
Headspace.
machines,
So
it is very orderly.
yeah, there is an order. Yeah, absolutely. That's the point. So I don't know how different it is from the so-called modern lens itself. I mean, modern lens may be much more precise. That's it. Over there, it's there is an element of probability, I guess. But still, there is broad consensus on that that both are orderly. So I don't know why she said that.
True.
Maybe I
Let's move
guess
on then.
yeah. And then the short para we had in a society in which the highest knowledge fulfills the twofold test of order and synthesis. What's provincialism though? Bhai, I don't know this word actually, like in its original context, what it
Provincialism is
means.
regionalism, or uh, maybe it means
Okay.
nationalism in this context.
Huh. So in a
So,
society,
so yeah, I'll explain this. I think I understood it.
okay,
In this, she's
okay,
referring
okay.
the West to this mechanical life in the West. So in that
Mm-hmm.
society, the highest knowledge fulfills two for rest of order, that is mechanical order and synthesis. And in that kind of society where everything mechanical, the
Mm-hmm.
greatest sin is provincialism. I think that is what she means.
Oh, okay. Huh. I don't know how right would I be in suggesting this example, but the whole what should I say? The whole isolationist position, I guess, that's also one sort, some sort of provincialism, right? Like even in capitalism or economic discussions as well, there is this question, right? That how much a nation can get into isolationist mode, like trying to divorce itself from others, uh,
You
because
mean
that would
like with
hinder.
tariffs and all?
Yeah, that as well. Yeah, that I guess like twofold test of order and synthesis. I guess that requires. I don't know. I'm just getting.
I just think that order and synthesis, it becomes like synonymous with uniformity in the end. So that's where
Hmm.
the provincialism goes against it.
Oh, so you're saying that provincialism tries to save some sort of unique, uh, I
Right,
guess,
yeah.
some
That's
unique
what I mean.
things. So,
Outside of the
yeah.
mechanical kind of life.
Huh. So, like, if you bring in machines, before that, there would be. Let's take for example the weavers. So the weavers would be weaving, and different families would have different techniques of weaving styles. So that would be totally uniform uh, if machines are brought in. So in that case, if someone tries to save their own style of weaving, that would be provincialism, I guess.
Yeah.
Mm.
In yeah,
Got it.
in the more localized sense.
True.
The other way she tells us that she mentions the new world differs from the old, which means new world meaning America and others, right, from Europe.
True.
And in Europe,
Yeah,
that
that was the
the
new
taste
world.
of aristocrats is still supreme.
Hmm. Although even in the new world, that aristocrat thing still exists for some reason.
And the opposite also,
Even
this mechanical thing exists in old world also.
true. Technology never went away, I guess. I mean, like
Yeah, and
that
factories and
always there.
all are everywhere only now.
Hmm.
Anyways, let's read further. I think we'll get more
Okay,
context as
okay.
we go ahead.
Yeah. It starts with and. Okay. And this is understood today by cultured persons all the world over. The cheap superciliousness of the young man who, on leaving his village in Kamchatka or Uganda, has been initiated into the habits and manners of the European democracy and takes himself for this reason as an exalted and competent critic of his own people, only evokes a smile. No one desires his acquaintance, for he has nothing to add to the thought world of those with whom he is so proud to have been associated. Every act, every movement writes large across his forehead the word snob. On the other hand, to take one's stand persistently on the local prejudices of the village in Kamchatka or Uganda is, though infinitely more manly and self respecting, almost as futile. It is better to be provincial than to be vulgar, for our horror of vulgarity is the longer grown, but both miss the effective achievement. What the time demands of us is that in us our whole past shall be made a part of the world's life. This is what is called realization of the national idea. But it must be realized everywhere in the world idea. In order to attain a larger power of giving, we may break through any barrier of custom, but it is written inexorably in the very nature of things that if we sacrifice custom merely for some mean or selfish motive, fine men and women everywhere will refuse to admit us to their fellowship. Should I continue? The next para.
Yeah, you can continue.
Okay. Cosmonationality of thought and conduct, then, is not easy for any man to reach. Only through a perfect realization of his own nationality can anyone anywhere win to it. And cosmonationality consists in holding the local idea in the world idea. It is well known that culture is a matter of sympathy rather than of information. It would follow that the cultivation of the sense of humanity as a whole is the essential feature of a modern education. But this cannot be achieved by mere geographical knowledge. The unification of the world has emancipated the human mind to some extent, and we now understand that a man's character is the sum of his assimilated experiences. In other words, that his history is written in his face. And what is true of persons, we see also to be true of countries. The very landscape is a key to the hopes and dreams of men. Their hopes and dreams explain to us the heritage they have left. History, then, is as essential to the modern consciousness as geography. It is the second dimension, as it were, of truth, as we now seek it, naked and dynamic.
Yeah, we should discuss this part.
Yeah, the first two para, those are great.
So, about this thing about being a snob, don't you think this is
Hmm.
about how when someone goes out of his way to imitate foreign customs,
Yep.
specifically Western
Yep.
customs, they kind of exclude themselves and you can say deracinate themselves and society
Yeah.
won't accept them after a point.
Completely. They get some sort of superior, what should I say, ego within themselves for being an imitator of the West, and then they also frame themselves as supreme critic of their own society after that, and that only creates that
Exactly.
impression which you said of a snob. completely true. But in the
But
later
here,
paragraph,
yeah, yeah,
huh,
here she brings quite an interesting nuance that the opposite of just persistently standing for the local prejudices is also not
hmm,
is also kind of futile, even though it is more self-respecting.
hmm, hmm.
But the earlier kind of futility that was more vulgar in its nature because you're looking down upon others, berating in them, and so on, right? So that is that
True.
vulgarity is not liked as much.
Yeah. And did you notice there was one line that she said in the previous paragraph that uh, the one who the guy is trying to imitate, they don't try to bring him into their acquaintances because he provides nothing to them. Like he's just an imitator. I mean, what use are they? I mean, what use is he for them at all? Nothing, zero. The only thing that he can do is be a snob to his own people and become an
The
enemy
only thing he
of
does
them
is irritate them in the end.
completely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the next part that you said, the honor of, yeah, it is better to be provincial than to be vulgar. Yeah, that point. Uh, at the last portion, she also says this, right? That so the solution that she gives is that the realization of the national idea, like the idea of the conservation of the local customs and which she calls as prejudices. So the local customs and traditions, along with it, its realization to the whole world. That she says is the solution, right? Uh, as someone who bridges the local with the world, as she would suggest it in the next para, I guess,
Yeah,
the cosmo
she did
nationality.
suggest that, but I think this point was quite interesting. She mentioned how the
Hmm.
culture is a matter of sympathy rather than of information. So,
Hmm.
information means how distinct it is and so on. But what do you think sympathy means here? Because I think that would be key to understanding why cosmo-nationality works in the way she mentions.
Yeah, so when she's mentioning the word sympathy, the first thing that I had in my mind is okay, so she's um, again trying to say that nationalism, that's an emotive thing, right? So nationalism, first of all, is an emotion. It's not very much a fact driven thing. Like, okay, there is an element of fact, the historical information, but at the end you have what is called as pride, right? Like, okay, I belong to that I belong to a species or a set of people who have done these things, and I am very proud of it, and I am uh, carrier of those identity and those achievements and those values with me. So I guess that's the sympathy part that she's mentioning. What would you say?
That's a good point. But I think there should be more to it. I'm not able to get the whole idea of it.
True, true, true. I guess I'm being incomplete over here. Because the word sympathy, I don't know how it was used at those times. Like sympathy, I mean, you that's an emotion which you show for someone else being in pain or suffering. Like how is it? How is
Right.
nationalism of something? I don't get it.
The only sympathy, like you mentioned, that we should have be sympathetic to someone holding cultural value and so on, right? So that is one sympathy I can think of. Other than
Okay,
that, not
so
really.
Nenar, can you just comment on this? So something just crossed my mind over this. So is she mentioning sympathy in the sense that um a set of people who are remembering their achievements of their ancestors are now being sad, like like being sympathetic that okay, we are sorry, we are not worthy successors of you, but we shall make you proud at the end of the day. Is that the emotion that she's hinting at? Like many nationalists do feel that, right? Like they say that okay, we were great,
I don't think
now we
so.
are not.
That would be out of place.
That will be out of place. Okay, 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 good, good.
Anyways, let's see. Maybe we'll
Yeah,
find an explanation further.
true, 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 true. So let's move ahead. Okay.
Yeah, one last point I saw here. Earlier, it came
Mm-hmm,
about custom, right? So,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
here she makes a quite good difference. So, in order to attain a large power of giving, we may break through any barrier of custom. But if that custom is broken for some mean or selfish motive, then nobody shall accept you. That custom
mm.
can be only broken in the context that uh, that there's a
Yeah,
large power of giving going on.
true, 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 true. Absolutely.
This I found really
So,
important.
yeah, so one example would be like, what should I say? Uh, uh, okay, let's give this example. So, Tilak, when he went to London, so later on when he came to India, so he was asked about, okay, so you broke the custom of not going to foreign lands, right? So in India, that was the case. So he said that just like Swami Vivekananda, I went for a noble cause, for a cause which would be serving our own people at the end of the day. So for that, in that case, since it was not for selfish motives, I didn't do such a great sin that you would be thinking of uh, in someone else's
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
position. So I guess that's the point.
Agreed. Yeah, that makes sense.
Huh. Yep, yep, yep,
We can read further then.
yep. Our changed attitude changes all our conceptions. We make a new survey of our knowledge and are no longer content to view dog as dog and cow as cow, but must needs learn all the links and development between them. Their very differences are now regarded by us as guarantee of their fundamental community of origin. We break open the rocks and scour the waste places of the earth that we may find forms which will explain to us the divergence of horse hoof from cow hoof, reptile from fish, and bird from moth. She is actually referring to the whole Charles Darwin experiment, right? Evolution,
Yeah, yeah.
origin of species. Yeah. Or we turn to the study of art and letters. Here again, our scrutiny has entered on the comparative stage. If we investigate the records of Baghdad, we must understand also those of Moorish Spain. It is not enough to follow the course of chivalry in France, unless we also assist at its birth in the German forests. Our idea of unity has become organic, evolutionary, and some picture of the movement and clash of the world as a whole in an overmastering need. Yet even the finest mind is limited by its own ignorance. What a plainful blank in modern culture. Whenever we come upon the word China, how little has it been possible to say about India to which any cultivated Indian can give more than a pitying smile, and how utterly misunderstood is the Mohammedan world. The world of culture, be it remembered, is not tainted by political corruption. Race prejudice has no place in the ideal aspiration after knowledge. Why then should a silence, almost political, pervade the spaces that ought to be filled with Oriental interpretation in modern thought? The reason as regards India is easy enough to find. The Indian mind has not reached out to conquer, and possess its own land as its own inalienable share and trust in the world as a whole. It has been content, even in things modern, to take obediently whatever was given to it, and the newness and strangeness of the thing given has dazed it. The Indian people as a whole, for the last 2 generations, have been as men walking in a dream, without manhood, without power to react freely against conditions, without even common sense. Should I be continuing? Or
Yeah, I think because she's not finished with her point.
but today, in the deliberate adoption of an aggressive policy, we have put all this behind us. Realizing that life is struggle, we are now determined that our wrestling with the powers that are against us shall enable us to contribute to the world's sum of culture, not merely to make adaptations from it. Our part henceforth is active, not passive. The Indianizing of India, the organizing of our national thought, the laying out of our line of march, all this is to be done by us, not by others on our behalf. We accept no more programs. Henceforth are we become the makers of programs. We obey no more policies. Henceforth do we create policies. We refuse longer to call by the name of education the apprenticeship necessary for a 10 rupee clerkship. We put such things in their true place. We ordain ourselves intellectually free. What then is the task before us? Our task is to translate ancient knowledge into modern equivalents. We have to clothe the old strength in a new form. The new form without that old strength is nothing but a mockery. Almost equally foolish is the savage anachronism of an old time power without fit expression. Spiritually, intellectually, there is no undertaking, but we must attempt it.
Yeah, we can
Anything?
discuss till here. So, what do you think about this thing that the world of culture? Going back to this earlier paragraph where she mentions the world of culture, be it remembered, is not tainted by political corruption. Race prejudice has no place in the ideal aspiration after knowledge. Why then should silence, almost political, pervade the spaces that ought to be filled with Oriental interpretation in modern thought? What do you think of this part?
Apologies, audience. There was a call, so I had to attend. Okay. Yeah, Ninur.
Yeah. So, what do you think of this part? The world of culture, be it remembered, is not tainted by political corruption. And silence she questions that why are we not putting in our Oriental interpretations? Is it because of the lack of common sense she mentions later?
Yeah, so the lack of common sense, the lack of activity, she's mentioning all of those, right? So, um as if a man walking in a dream without manhood, without power to react freely against conditions. So she's basically saying we were being slavish. We were not trying to even express ourselves. We were not trying to own our own identities and to broaden them and to try even analyzing from that point of view the modern world at all. We were being totally slavish. I guess that's the
We were also
whole
being
cause of
childish,
silence.
like how she mentions, and the newness and strangeness of the thing given has dazed it. So
Yep,
everyone
yep,
was
yep.
dazed by
Completely.
everything new coming in, the technology, ideas, everything. But they didn't stop to think once of what it meant for them.
True, true. Like most of the reformers, even if we read them, we see that coming up, right? So they will say, look how the West has created this gigantic thing. Could we even think of it. Our people didn't even think of those yada yada yada. Basically, that point that you mentioned,
Right.
they are totally dazed. Oh, okay.
And
And
from the last
then,
two paragraphs, what do you think about
hmm,
these?
so long in today's podcast only, you had said like right that she's aiming at a project where Indians will be judging others based on their own perspective. So she's mentioning that even in the case of India as well. So Indianizing of India. So even she was even observing that India was being judged from a very Western point and was being made a sort of some sort of a Western construct uh, in a Western imagination. Like, okay, India is this giant subcontinent where there are disparate uh, group of people not united. There is no nationhood within them, and so on and so forth. Right. So that's the whole narrative of some of the people in our amongst us, especially
Exactly.
who say from 1947 India came in, so on and so forth. So British made us a nation and so on. So basically, she's saying that we have to first even Indianize India. First, we have to do that. So basically, she's talking about decolonization at that time. Yeah, what
She
should I
also
say?
mentioned how what they call. She also uses satire on education, right? And how it is
Yeah,
basically an apprenticeship for a 10 rupee clerkship in the modern time.
totally, totally. All lawyers, all judges, these were the only jobs that were being
All government jobs,
hired.
essentially.
All government jobs. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Even today that happens. Ah, wow.
But the whole
Amazing.
education is kind of like it was a narrow and only meant for certain set of clerks and such, right? But it was expanded
Mm,
to everyone in the name of universal education.
yeah. A universal program of creating clerks. Great program. Wow. Again,
Hmm.
then she says the whole mission, right? That our task is to translate ancient knowledge into modern equivalents. Again, that whole point that you had said, right? That we must judge others and even current circumstances, but from our perspective itself. And that obviously requires you to translate ancient knowledge through modern systems alone, because modern systems are basically contemporary systems. So, yeah, proving your point yet again. She's she's talking about decolonization. She's talking about Indianization. She's talking about what should I say? Self proliferation,
Independence as well.
proliferation of India,
So that
independence. Yeah.
we accept no more programs, we become the makers of programs and so on. Everything that
Mm-hmm.
we take in charge basically, and not let others take charge for us.
Brilliant. Basically, she's saying that we will not be imitators, aka we will not be gratifying the empire for bringing us the modern knowledge and so on and so forth. We will take it on our context, from our value point, and we will be Indianizing that as well, and we will be judging others as well, and we will be expanding ourselves as well. Amazing.
Right.
Totally amazing.
Yeah, we can continue reading.
Okay. So, great realms of the ideal open for our exploration, new conceptions of life and duty and freedom, new ideas of citizenship, untried expressions of love and friendship. Into all these, we must throw ourselves with burning energy and make them our own. We must create a history of India in living terms. Up to the present, that history, as written in English, practically begins with Warren Hastings and crams in certain unavoidable preliminaries, which cover a few thousands of years, and troublesome as they are, cannot be altogether omitted. All this is merely childish and has to be brought to the block. The history of India has yet to be written for the first time. It has to be humanized, emotionalized, made the trumpet voice an evangel of the races that inhabit India. And to do this, it must be reconnected with place. Calcutta, Madras, and Bombay are the present viewpoints. Surely the heroes that sleep on ancient battlefields, the forefathers that made for themselves the wide walled cities, the scholars that left behind them precious thought and script, have laughed sometimes when they have not wept to see from high heaven the grotesque docility of their descendants. The history of India consists in truth of the strata of at least 3,000 years. Ocean bed and river sands, forest and marsh, and open ocean floor again, lie piled one upon the other, and each period some new point is center. Ayodhya and Hastinapur, Indraprastha and Pataliputra, Ujjain and Delhi, Kanjivaram and Amaravati, what of the vanished worlds of which all these were born? There is no evangel without worship. Throw yourselves, children of India, into the worship of these and your whole past. Strive passionately for knowledge. Yours are the spades and mattocks of this excavation, for with you and not with the foreigner are the thought and language that will make it easy to unearth the old significance. India's whole hope lies in a deeper research, a more rigid investigation of facts. With her, encouragement and not despair is on the side of truth. Great literatures have to be created in each of the vernaculars. These literatures must voice the past, translate the present, forecast the future. The science and the imagination of Europe has to be brought through the vernacular to every door. India cannot afford to imitate foreign institutions, neither can she afford to remain ignorant of foreign ideals. The history of the past has to be rewritten in simple terms. True hope for the time to come must fill all hearts like a nation's common prayer. On the creation of such vernacular literatures depends the effective education of women. Art must be reborn, not the miserable travesty of would-be Europeanism that we at present know. There is no voice like that of art to reach the people. A song, a picture, these are the fiery cross, a rough cross of charred wood used to be passed from clan to clan in Scottish Highlands as they call to war. We all know the folded chapati of Indian. Okay.
She's
That
talking
rich,
about the chapatis they distributed in 1857.
true. That's the thing. The fiery cross that reaches all the tribes and makes them one. And art will be reborn, for she has found a new subject, India herself. Ah, to be a thinker in bronze and give to the world the beauty of southern Paraya, as he swings, scarce clad, along the beach road at Madras. Ah, to be a millet and paint the woman worshipping at dawn beside the sea. Oh, for a pencil that would interpret the beauty of the Indian sari, the gentle life of village and temple, the coming and going of the Ganges side, the play of the children, the faces and the labors of the cows. But far more on behalf of India herself do we need artists, half poets and half draughtsmen who can wake in us the great new senses. We want men of Indian blood who can portray for us the men of old, Bhishma and Yudhishthira, Akbar and Sher Shah, Pratap Singh and Chand Bibi, in such fashion as to stir the blood. We want through these to feel out as a people toward the new duties of the time to be, not only to utter India to the world, but also to voice India to herself. This is the mission of art, divine mother of the ideal, when it descends to clothe itself in forms of realism. At each step, then, the conquest must be twofold. On this side, something to be added to the world's knowledge, and on that, an utterance to be given for the first time, for India to herself. This is the battle that opens before the present generation. On our fighting a good fight, the very existence, it may be, of the next depends. Our national life is become perforce a national assault. As yet the very outworks of the besieged city are almost unstormed. Herewith then let us sound the charge. Sons of the Indian past, do ye fear to sleep at nightfall on your shields? On, in the name of a new spirituality, to command the treasures of the modern world. On, soldiers of the Indian motherland, seize ye the battlements and penetrate to the citadel. Place garrison and watch within the hard-won towers or fall, that others may climb on your dead bodies to the height ye strove to win.
That was a lot. That was
A
amazing.
lot.
Well written.
Well written, yeah. So basically, she has created a map of future programs, right? At that time, uh, what
Exactly.
should be the policies,
What should art look
and
like? What should
mm,
you can say the goal of work or military goals look like?
mm,
And also
historical scholarship.
and yeah, how education should be.
Mm, completely. She's mentioning that right, that the English history, or the history from this side of English, is being taught. So now we need a new set of historians who would try making this scholarship from India. Like, it has to be from within the community itself out there. And in that, she also is talking about investment in research, especially in archaeology. That has to be done vigorously.
So I think that these are
Also,
quite explicit points we don't need to like elaborate or there's not
yeah,
much
yeah, yeah,
something we can.
yeah.
But I think
These are
everyone
just
should read this basically. It's basically a manifesto of what we should aspire to be.
true. It's a manifesto. Actually, it's a manifesto. Yep. So I guess we will continue with the third chapter later on. Ninner,
Yes.
uh, so would you take some questions then in the comments? I don't know.
Yeah, let's just check if there are any questions.
Admin, is admin available? You may help us.
I think in live chat there are not any questions right now.
Yeah, right now I don't see any. True.
It's late at night, so lot of viewers.
True. So that one question we, I guess, answered, right? That triad or raita thing.
Yes, that was the only question. Right.
Yeah, and then okay, so maybe we can answer this, right? So Retro asked, is Sister Nivedita comparing with Japan or West in this context? So we were reading that line, right, about Japan, how Japan readily modernized, just
Oh,
like
I
Indians
noticed
did.
this comment. It was actually
Uh-huh.
a bit late. So when we were discussing West, that time she was. So in that the context in which she commented, we were discussing West.
Ah, okay. Yeah, then it was
About
a waste.
the
It was not.
mechanical things, the new world, and all that, right?
True, 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 true. True, true, true.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So all the questions have been answered, I guess. Okay,
Yes.
great. I mean, it was a great read. I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed hearing you as well. Great discussion as to. Uh, I guess we'll continue with this. It's a very interesting essay, I guess. How many chapters do we have? Not many.
There is only this section, the third section, the
Mm.
ideal, and it's a short section
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
can go through it
Seems
with something else, some other essay of hers itself, because I found the essay
true,
quite
true, true.
nice.
So, yeah, I have an essay in my mind. We will discuss it in next session, I guess, because this is very small, the third chapter. We'll continue at that time. Then. Okay, Niner, I guess it's time.
Yeah,
So, thank you, audience, for staying with us, listening to us, and also asking questions as well. Uh, we will continue with this in next session too. So, stay tuned uh, and keep, what should I say? Keep supporting us and this channel for further encouragement towards better presentations in future. Thank you so much. Jai Shri Ram.
thank you.
Shubhratri.
Jai Shri Ram.
And yes, thank you so much, Nim. Oh, Vimas Dada. Yes, please.
We cannot hear you.
Yeah, we cannot hear you.
Just hold on. Yeah, I was listening to the other things. Yeah, it was a good reading actually.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, it was a good reading. I
okay.
was listening in the background. Okay, I had some other things to do, but yeah, it's a really good thing. I think we need to like continue read paper like this more, so that it
Hmm.
becomes a archive of repository of discussion for many people to listen
Yeah,
later.
exactly, exactly. There are many interesting essays of her, so we can discuss them later on in later sessions. But
Yeah, yeah.
yes,
So we'll
thank you so much.
continue to read, and if the audience wants to share any also papers, we can actually go and do that as well. We can. So you can share
True,
You
your
can share the
true, true,
papers
true.
anytime in the comment
Absolutely.
section. We'll take note of it and do a reading session if we find it interesting.
yeah. That was a good read. I think both of you need to do a bit more of these podcasts, more of this reading session, so that audience can
Yeah.
know about these gems, hidden gems, which people might not find in their own way to read it. So it's a good thing.
Hmm.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. So thank you, Rishi. Thank you, Nina, and thank you everybody who joined us. Okay. Do read them paper if you can, or just listen to us. See you. Bye,
Thank you to
everybody.
all the audience and Rishi as well.
Jai Shri
Yep.
Ram, Vande Mataram.
Jai Shri
Jai
Ram.
Shri Ram.